Okay, so why are these exercises the best for office workers? So basically, sitting is the new smoking, and if you spend a lot of hours sitting in one position, then you need to work on hip mobility. And one of the best ways to do this is to work on hip rotations. There are other hip mobility exercises which we're going to cover in a different video, but for now, for these 4 exercises that are great for office workers, or just generally speaking everyone who wants to move better, then you would need to do some hip mobility, hip rotations. So for that, as I covered in the previous video, you need to do this sort of movement with the legs and really open up the hips. So you're working on the internal and the external rotation, and then once you get really good at this, then you can start taking this a little bit further and then create greater range of motion, turning with the torso, reaching, big reach forward, and you feel this stretch in the glutes on this hip, and then adding the torso really just increase the range of movement in this exercise in the hips. Big reach, and you will really stretching the hips, and essentially or eventually you can just start moving this leg back, big reach forward, and then going side to side and really open up the hips. Or there was another variation in the previous video when I was showing you to do this, to same sort of hip rotation, and then this hand supports, the hips come forward, then a big reach to really open up everything in the front, because when you sit, the front of the hips is kind of it just shuts down. So we really want to lengthen this area here, and then just turn with the legs and then open up the front of the body. And then our second exercise was it's called the world's greatest stretch, but basically it's a stretch that works on the hips and the upper back as well, the upper body as well. So you'd go like this, start with the hands down, and then even create a little bit more space here. So it's not only stretching on this side, but it's also stretching on the other hip as well. You're trying to lower this arm and then open up and really open up the whole torso here, and then just going through that big stretch. Cover this on both sides, but basically you really open up the whole front of the body, stretching the upper back, the thoracic spine, and trying to follow that stretch with the eyes all the way up. And this one just feels good whenever you do this. So this is always a winner. But then moving on to the third exercise, it's a really interesting one, because you might not think that this is a great exercise, but for people that sit by the desk, or pretty much everything we do in life, we do like sort of in this hunched over position. So what like think about texting, driving, working, being on the phone, any of these things is like going forward. So actually what we want to do is do the opposite. So we really want to open the shoulders, and then so for this exercise you will need this longer band. You step onto the band like this, and then feet are really active, so we're going to prevent any movement in lower body, and then just starting with the arms like this, nice and straight, and then stretching everything out. So you're doing this big opener with the arms, moving the shoulders back into this position, and then it opens up the whole upper back. So everything that kind of like shuts down, we actually try to wake these muscles up. But it's a good sort of like postural exercise, so it really helps to create more space in the front of the body, and just giving you better posture overall, especially if you sit. So you would do this sort of movement, and then keeping the head still, nothing else moves. I'm not trying to compensate with my torso. Everything is nice and stable, and I'm trying to only move the arms, and then just going through that full range of motion with control, Obviously with the resistance band, you're not only working on the way up, but also on the way back as well. So you go open, close. As you can see, both feet are really active. The back foot is pushing into the floor. Get my glutes active, which also sitting down. You know, your glutes essentially become weaker because you just keep sitting on it. So you're not really using the glutes. Pushing into the floor, get the glutes active, get the hip flexors open up again. There's another way of opening the hip flexors when you get into this half kneeling position, and then doing that W to get the shoulders open up as well. So it's an absolute winner, this exercise. Obviously you want to do this both sides, not just on one side, but both sides, so you can reap all the benefits of doing this exercise. And then the fourth one, so this is a glute bridge. When you lie down to the back, and then just start with feet flat, pulling the handles of the ultimate sandbag, and then just breaking that back. So we're creating this stability in the torso, in the core, and then really trying to get the whole posterior chain active. So I'm pushing with the feet and extending the hips, and then pause here for a second, and then just slowly come back down. And then, so this is an integrated exercise. So I'm getting the whole trunk musculature, the core, the glutes, everything active here again, which is all of these muscles are basically supporting me to stay upright, giving me better posture. Also helps with any sort of like lower back problems. So it's generally it's a winner exercise. So we're just gonna start like this, creating that tension, pushing with the feet, very intentional, little pause at the top, coming down. We're looking for that full hip extension all the way up, pause, then slowly come back down. So these are the 4 exercises, and hopefully you get more out of this now that you know why we're doing these exercises. And then please let us know if you have any questions.